이게 거의 너무 쉽게 이게 너무 딜레이트하는
기선은 해나?
너무 쉬워. 근데 이게 그 선전과 주위에 순화 선전 네, 그렇지. 국시에 좀 이게 좀显然너무 딜레이트는 게 선생님은 친구랑写的 대녀를 말하게 그 뒤에 어디 되는데 그걸 올라가서 봐. 하고 미니스트도 공부를 하고 있는 것 같은데 이제 대녀를
정말 진짜 자고 싶냐?
진짜 그만해. 감.
막아라래. 그래서 지금 그거 그 동생이 뭐 락바바나 루바바 그 동생이 아니면 루바바게 그다 타바.
좋고요.
정말 그러면 나기. 근데 동생이 락바가 된다. 루바가 된다. 진짜 자고 싶냐? 사람 막히.
Beginning with the Heart Sutra in English on page 2. Thus I have heard, at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Altar Big Mountain, with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of the mountain I call profound coherence. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely from their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness. Having no characteristics, they run born and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomenon. There is no quality of sight and so on, until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell on the three times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom, and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable perfection of complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teyata om gate gate aragate parasangate bodhisattva. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the bodhisattva mahasattva noble Avalokiteshvara that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shanarvati Putra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasanta, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, demons, asuras, and gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of blessings. Short mandala offering on page 16. Refuge prayer on 23. Sanjay Chodan Soje Jonama Janjo Bardo Nani Kasarachi Vagi Shije Jibe Sonanje Chala Jije Sanje Rubarisho Sanjay Chodan Soje Jonama Janjo Bardo Nani Kasarachi Vagi Shije Jibe Sonanje Nala Vijaya Sanjay Ruparani Chula Tuje Chona Janjo Margo Dagi Dagi Chuje Jibe Sonani Nala Vijaya Sanjay Ruparani.
나도 무슨 쉬어 저기 담지나 내는 조회 많이나 지된 점이 미고네 다위 옆에 매연도 세제냐라 소바시 세대가 들어오는 것은 말이래 다들 사도 쉬어야 돼 대체를 제외 동면도 강기 세제 마대요 되는 두대 나빠시 군조들의 가자도 와서 아토도래 사도 쉬어야 돼.
During our previous discussions, we covered.
그거도 같이.
Oh,
It's on, I think.
is it on? Oh, it's on it. During our previous discussions, we covered the first 11 that worldly people do not welcome but treat with contempt. The offsprings of the victors, those who are like fire hidden by ashes. So they burn in the health and elsewhere. So this verse that we have covered during our previous session, which is the previous week, and then now today we will be going through this. We will be discussing on this verse 12. Therefore, in the clouds of jewels, the victor taught a vow in brief, through which you make an effort. You won't offend sentient beings.
다가지 쇼즈면 되는 소요 마이는 지denje 미고네 타요요 메이도 세전나 소바 식스야 대기 다다르다 저단 가지 쇼즈 말이 이네 다들이 뉴든도 쇼이나 가르송 거였나 되도나 니보르도 가르송 거였나 라니 자주스 바지 바이나야 아니 시야리야 르마기 쮸바데 야고지 때고 그래서 라니 자주스 바이나야 시야리야 소속을 영하게 쥐어봐도 야고지 때문에 그래서 아셔도 얘도 맞지 때문에 그래서 대마 대와지는 영하게 쥐어봐도 바로 버려야 문제 받는데 얘도 너무 많이 때서 와이나 근데 바로 버들 아니래야 근데 컨트롤 나와라 소배 그냥 요구래서 근데 바로 버들 아니는 컨트롤 나와이나 아니 자주스 바이 소타 근데 바로 버들 링에 버시지 산로래서 바로 버들 링에 버시지 산로이나 대용하게 근데 내가 놀랬는데 말풍고레스 나서 만들 로이나 안테 단타리아 안둥에 빠동에 받는 거 캔고레스 안테레 동에 노야데 젠도고데 라니기 제바이 소사 라니레 있는 이바인 거레스 달 라니 자주스 바이 안 제바이나요 어떻게 된다지 정도.
So this verse, the verse 11, I'll once again go through it briefly. The actual meaning of this verse again. It says, even if one's bodhisattvas, one should always be very careful when one is interacting with different people or any categories of societies and so forth, to making sure that one's actions of the body, speech, and mind are not really offensive to other beings, even if one is bodhisattvas. It says, bodhisattvas, even the bodhisattvas are being very careful with their own actions when it comes to the interaction with the different with other sentient beings. Because if their body, speech, and minds are actions of the body, speech, and mind become offensive to others, then that other individual who may not know that that one is bodhisattva, so therefore they get offended and overcome by anger, hatred, and so on. That enables that makes individual to accumulate negative karma, so that that individual will take a rebirth in the lower realms and undergo tremendous amount of sufferings. But the thing is that who create this condition for that individual to fall into lower realms is the bodhisattva. So even the bodhisattvas will have the bodhisattva has a responsible for creating this condition for the individual to fall into the lower realms. So therefore, it is very important that even the bodhisattvas have such, danger of creating a bad condition for others, and suddenly we as ordinary beings have to be very careful when we're speaking, acting, verbally or bodily or even mentally. Have to be very careful that one's actions, the body, speech, and mind doesn't become offensive to other beings.
안들한테는 말한 소리야. Lieutenant Colonel, Maruto Najim Jundo, Shania, Lumaki, and the Japan Abachi, Lugutani, Najim to Japan, I would imagine to what years or a Shannon and the Germanepa. Then were kind of so many Shania, Najumi Batia, Suzuka Lavina, and the Parupo, Sankania Podutani, and the Parupo in there. Running so controversial loss of the word. Chazan Paropo Ranigi, Lumagi Chubang, they change Paropo control Sasumaina, and the Paropo control Savate, Magi Legere. Magi Lete, Latin Dibu, and the Paropo Dunge Noya Town, and the Tichina, contribution of the and the young National Magia. Let's say what the day you say, so the day Paropo, Digutuma, Yoyatan, and then there's what the Nalama, a Jagi, Judote, contribution was there, the Chabarwa, contribution was there, the chain with the source of Chabarwa, the name Rajan Ningaria, Nibajudia, the name of San, and also to the number condo, Shania, Seduja, Lamaguva, Betan, Levinaju. Duja and Demago with the Jerry the kitchen is a yes.
So this verse, primarily addresses for us as a ordinary beings. Says, whenever we engage in actions of the body, speech, and mind, one's body, the bodily actions, or the body actions of the body, and the speech, particularly that when one is saying something to someone, it is important to be mindful of the words that one is expressing, so that one's expression of one's verbal expression doesn't become a harsh to others. And similarly, when our bodily actions, equally we be mindful of our bodily actions. If one purposely engages in the bodily action, one's actions of the body to offend others, and suddenly one will accumulate tremendous amount of negative karma. And that kind of actions will really distract the mind of others. In the worst case, not only distracting their mind, the very distraction then give rise to agitation, anger, hatred, and so forth. And with this, individual undergo tremendous amount of sufferings. And such sufferings and unhappiness is created by one who actually engages in the negative actions of the body, speech, and mind. So, which give rise to, in the worst case, even such condition will become a cause for the individual to take a rebirth in the lower realms. And not only the individual who becomes angry and agitated, fall into lower realms, but we as the individual who actually creates these conditions, for that individual, one will also equally accumulate negative karma, so that one may fall into lower realms at the same time. So in brief, this particular verse reminds us, whenever we are engaging or interacting with other individuals or societies or with anyone, have to be very careful and be mindful of what you are saying and how you're acting bodily and what you are actually expressing. The expression of the words must be must be derived from mindfulness.
다 델리 도한테 말로서 나는 제지 가려나 바로 보면 아니는 투걸 해야다. 아니는 투는 저 두자나 같은 데 내서 있나요? 아니 아니는 있다가 코로 잡고요. 베지야 잡고 컨트롤 제가 기준 거래. 가리나 바로 그 아니는 투걸 하겠다. 나도 두자 땡에 지지는 장수 바이로. 지지는 장수 바 이 맞다 같은데. 가다 장수 바를 이 바이나 아니 델이야 컨트롤 제바이나 근데 장수 바를 컨트롤 제가 있어서 대 니가 친구 있어서 근데 아니야 대왕께 랭을 좀 사네 야 제가 동안 담반용 거다 그래서 먼저 제가 니가 있어서 제가 바로 보라니를 제 스스로다 아니 내가 저 때문에 그래 아니 들어봐 코는 제가 제거해야 돼요 말로서 소송이네 제가 뭔가 기침을 해
Then here, when someone engages in the body, actions of the body, speech, actions of the body and speech, which becomes offensive to us as a practitioner, making sure that we are not actually agitated or we're not distracted. In fact, one should take this opportunity to engage in the practice of patience and not getting angry or not generating anger and hatred towards that individual.
제가 미라클에 세제 담제서나 담아도 있는 소소라니 동행용을 해서 대략 주될 때는 언니들한테 인생 도인의 약과를 제가 가다죠 라닝이 셀파 제초다 내주 쪽에 되면 메시지야 바로 보고 라닝을 제초다 내주 쪽에 되면 그래 그래야 공존 맞아 제고야 바로 보고 라닝을 제초다 내주 쪽에 되면 그래 들어 공존 잡아이나 라닝 좋아라고요 봐 라닝이 명하고 주변에서 그 이해를 이전 공존 잡아 있나요 라닝 좋아라고요 봐 가다죠 가르치나요 제 라인인가를 좋아하고 해서 눈에 되고 있어서 대략 주제는 때니 가다죠 명하게 고주에 야고지 송부에 기침을 해.
So we have to be always, it is essential for us both to always be mindful of one's own actions of the body, speech, and mind. When just as one engages in the offensive actions of the body, speech, and mind that distracts others, and when someone engages in actions of the offensive actions of the body, speech, and others towards oneself, we have a tendency to get angry. But we as a practitioner, we have to make sure, we have to understand that getting angry is not something that makes you happy, isn't it? We are, normally when we get angry, we don't really look at it. Anger makes us suffer. We're not really thinking about that at all. In fact, we have a tendency to say that I have a right to get angry, and you are taking this righteousness of getting angry, and that really is one of the false, rationale that we are applying to us, because when one gets angry, one is poisoning one's own mind. When someone engages in certain actions of the body, speech, and mind, that bodies, particularly the body and speech, that makes us uncomfortable, at that moment we have to be very careful and mindful that, well, there's something going on here. I must be very careful that not generating anger and hatred towards that individual so that I can, prevent myself from those sufferings and also not letting other individual creates negative karma so that he or she will uh, experience the negative consequences later.
Chitanda Nidakale Kono de Kichibuchi Sunguere Juchane. In a Kono Kichibudri de Kono de Meva Inaya, Lua Chambotani, Nisa Mobujo, Penamuzo, or Rajunina, Chimbasunjik Lesia, and I am worried. Chimbasunjik Lesia, Rajunzo, and those passe, Pepe Gata, Chalena Picaria, Kolomini, she yet never gender down. Yen Madeva Zoba Santa Kono can have in a young. So, Jim Nugi, Joran, Navigi, Wangi, Kakare, Kishibi Kare, Shanky, Yedomoa, was Yeshuada. And then I look at Joran, Shelmatibatana, Debra Joina, and the Paropovian, Sene, Medeva, as the Rajundi Jatan, Yaboramando Santano. Kejashanayo, Madusana, the Latin Raina, and the Paropo Jury. Geta Dea, John Robert, Jazan, Rajukurongi, Kolomini, Parapo Geta Yojuko, Sagamateo Zobas, Noki Mate, Yena, Leagi, Jana Denam Chani, and Parama Chimi Jury, Geta Yola, the Nayu, Yang, Chikuno, Dujabia Inaya, Leagi, Janam, Nibalateni. Parabakizanua, and I were Jazan, Nibatuyan, Colon, Down Tigabini Pamadua.
So particularly, but even if when one has a motivation of offending others or not, as long as that one's action becomes offensive to others, we accumulate negative karma. Particularly the ordained beings, the individual who has the vows of novice or the fully ordained vows has to be very careful whether they have a motivation of offending others or not. They're always, according to Vinaya, they always be very careful of whether they're walking, staying, or talking to someone, making sure that their action doesn't become offensive to others. It says if the lay person is not really happy with the actions of the ordained being or the monks or nuns, then that really again accumulates negative karma for the not only the lay person but also the monk or the nun, because it is their action that enables the layperson to become agitated and unhappy with. So therefore, it is primarily, suggested for the monastic individual to be very careful with their, interaction with the lay people, but also at the same time, we as a layperson also be very careful of our own actions of the body, speech, and mind, or interacting with some other beings.
And then you do not know the Shonu Swan, Terry of a million dollars, 타요 옆에 매일 도서관에 원래 매일 때문에 매일 지나 사고 막 가셔 그래 원래 매일 요즘에 어떤 문단을 도두고 와 때나지 라닝이 바뀌는 것에 바로 보디나요 제 때지 가다데 약간의 지면은 것도 서가지도 가버려 조사를 당 주로 지줄 때 말을 가다데 집방도 가다유면 tena po tuwe chi ma re, che zang ma ta nga ryo kansa ka tsue zo che, kansa ka tsue zo te nyam cho tare yes, suma na che so zo na negi, pa jo na mudo te da pa jo te janju sa pa to yi na to tene diwe chi go sa pa re, o tene yi du tenda ki tewe yo pe me shin to, tenda ki pe sha pa na che dwe le ya, pa ro po te chi kara sa pa re, zo ku ta yi ne jo po le re sha, 거지 시라 이사말 나나 좀 무슨 지나기 저속에 매년 당고 다니지 소소를 매번에 돈 주지 않는 거다 최소지 않는 거다 제 소소를 떠서 이 다와들이 차도지 않는 주고로 와 어디서도 그 빠져되게 남기 pom토 때 가다 이메데 준호 제주다 조상은 다도야지 말에 대외 옆에 매나 해야 돼 내도 대학 주제는 때니 바로 거대 지주도 친구 있나다 어다 바게디 쫀도 가버리 유가 있나다 대단 대여의 매일도 살았다니 근데 소소가 쫀하네 강야야지 나무야 기증을
So then also it's very, very important that one's actions will not become offensive to others because we do not know that other individual, whether that other individual is a bodhisattva or not. Therefore it says the offsprings of the victors, referring to the bodhisattvas, who are like the hidden by ashes. So we do not know if without knowing that there's a fire actually covered by the ashes, and if you step onto it, and it will burn our body. Similarly, it is not possible for us to really to know that individual is not bodhisattvas or someone who has not gained high level realizations. We cannot predict that an individual is bodhisattvas because such and such person looks awesome, or such and such person looks attractive bodily, or such and such person has a lot of wealth and so forth. And such person has a lot of knowledge. That doesn't really make that individual as a bodhisattva. It is not evidence of the bodhisattva, someone as a bodhisattva. Bodhisattvas can appear in many different forms, human, animal, all kind of forms the bodhisattva can appear. So it is important that we have to be very careful when we are interacting with other individual and assuming that individual not a bodhisattva and you do when engages in all kind of actions, whether it is offensive or not. We recklessly engages in all kind of actions of body, speech, and mind, being very careless of the other individual. That will really, such action will really become a negative, so that one accumulates a tremendous amount of negative actions and karma, so that one will fall into doldrums for a very long time in the future.
라닝이 파 결혼하는 것들 바로 라닝이 쳐 권에 지어야 된다. 바로 라닝이 쳐 영화기 주변에 되는 라닝 파고는 잡아야 된다. 어떤 간에 지어야 되는 라닝이가를 좋아해야지만 또 라닝이가 빌리는 맞아야지만 또 라닝이가 뭐 눈에 대야지만 또 생각하게요 말해서 그래서 근데 쇼한테나 대신 제외 도면 더 시켜도 되니만 근데 정도
So, therefore, this making someone get angry, or one is angry with someone, no benefits at all. None of us, whether the other individual who is getting angry because of your action will receive any benefit, nor that someone as oneself who makes others get angry. In fact, both the creator of anger and also the generator of anger both accumulates negative karma so that negative consequences will be faced by both the individual.
대체는 제가 농빈도 다 권해지 손이 드니 주제 대체를 하는 제외 대 동고래 대 방고래스 제가 농빈도 강에서 제 마대 줄스 아니 대례 강사 강게 아니 세제 다 그들 강에서 자주서 막 강게에서 자주서 막 이방하는 지는 거래 강에서 제 마대 줄 자주서 막 강게 아니 세지 가라니는 아니 마대바 뭐용마치 소고래서 강에서 제 마대 줄스
So therefore, then it says, therefore, in the clouds of the jewels, in the clouds of jewels, sorry, it's name of the sutta. So this, the victor taught a vow in brief, through which, if you make an effort, you won't offend sentient beings.
제가 마대 줄 되는 등대 나빠시 그래서 뭐 세제 가르치는 라니를 마대바 용용되는데 아니 대소소가 별로지 주도 되는 가사지니 근데바 빠버려 내가 소고래 세제 담지 라니냐 얘도 뭐 통통이 소고래스 얘도 뭐 마대바 줘야 돼 아니 대 소소가 별로지 주도 되는데 자나가 빠버려스
So therefore, we, as a follower of the practice of the bodhicitta or the bodhisattvas, we are the follower of the bodhisattva's practice. Sorry, we should always remind ourselves by the practice of looking all beings, compassionately and lovingly, regardless of their actions of the body, speech, and mind. So far as one's own self is concerned, one should not, generate any angers and hatred towards this individual.
다들 강기 세제 마대 줄세 내가 들어가나야 세제 마대 번주당 그래서 다들 자주서 이방을 지는 송도 자주서 봐야다 밖에부터 가기 나서 자주서 비거든요 저거 야다 가르쳐 버려서 이나 자주서 봐 강기 처럼 들었으게나 마대 번주 내 많이 보면 주스 자주서 봐 저거 여고 제게나 자주서 말하니 시에게 마대 번주하게 내 많이 받지 제고래스 라니 세제 얘기 여도만 통통이지
So according to that, the commentary where it says that this normal, it actually is addressed. This is actually towards the bodhisattvas, where it says bodhisattvas must become should have a well-behaved, because this may, if one's behaviors are not really its behaviors is not really good, then this will often other beings that they accumulate negative karma, so that even the bodhisattvas, it says, be very careful of their actions of the body, speech, and mind, that their actions of body, speech, and mind doesn't become offensive to other beings.
대나게 요만이 보면 주였어. 자주서 봐이나 소속은 껴난데 바로 보겠지. 요만이 봐. 대나 무용만 지어래스. tena yu tuma imba mamas janju suma yin sambo ani yele ya kame sube kare je tueda tsamba ani paro bol remba tena je ma paro bol remba da tues ma imba tena ge ani paro bol ya je dunge je ya da ani control ma ya so tena ge ani tuele ya ani damade sonju ya mare so.
So if you look at the commentary, 122, the page 122, the commentary says, as the text says, what are those bodhisattvas practice? Here the bodhisattvas does not hang out in the wrong place at the wrong time. He doesn't talk at wrong time. So it says, he isn't someone who doesn't know the right time, or someone who doesn't know the right place, or someone who doesn't know how much is enough. So this is what the Geshe-la read from the commentary.
Tadna idna kichiwa chi julang penso tso shings. So julang la chi juba sa nangyu sano kelang. Atang ane lyogi nanyu tetang nangyu manjuna soba. Teso tepe penso tsoba yapo chi. Suyunda jiga tuwa ine, suyunda jiga tuba ine, yedo muma. Tagarang resha sa dawan jeba tochi. Wawre es. Penso tso yin. Njangwa mawas. Yene ya 계시에 그래 저기서 그러면 남이 그래 아니 얘는 앞에 증장보다니 만장보다니 아니 배 여동와 배 내년도고 되는지 막으래서 아니 계시에 그래나 디보지니 막으래서 벤조가 좀 많이 봐 르지니 바로 봐야 아니 배 전달이 그 공예시 받는 거지 르지니 매그래서 저당 모두 정말라 전일의 경우 되더니 계셔서도 배수 정보 땅 욕바당 되는 내용으로 와서서 되나 많이봐 그 나기 상로대 시대 정보하고 있나 나기 맞을 수 있는 진정보하고 중요한 일이다 되는 인사에 어디 있잖아
근데 자주선 말하시오.
되는 자리에서 말하는 거 아직 쇼도
So then it says the bodhisattvas must have the conduct of the body, speech, and mind, something that is very suitable for other beings, it says. If the conduct of the body, speech, and mind of the bodhisattvas is not appropriate or something that is not suitable for the other beings, then that really becomes a cause for creating a tremendously negative karma for even that karma for the individual who do not know that he or she is bodhisattva. So therefore, it is suggested the bodhisattvas must know how to speak to the others in the right time, in the right place, in the right circumstances. It is not that someone is doing something wrong that which a bodhisattva should go and just, advise that individual. That's not going to work. The bodhisattva must know that's the right time to say, right time or the right place to do it. Otherwise, without knowing that, just thinking that may benefit that other person and just go ahead and you just go and tell someone that's not to do this, not to do that, and so on. It's not going to be very helpful.
tena yegi dendem mama was dendem mama was dendem mama was abo ani jim moso mo to san ro ta tenda ya kan ma jo mo be jo ma desa.
So then bodhisattva should not be in a place where there's a lot of distractions that becomes a cause for wandering one's mind.
Rado emba la mo ber chobas rado emba se ne emba se de je gomba ta jada re bo da gomba so na tenere jada emba de tenere rado emba de be ta re bo chonso ta ani jada re bo wa tenere ya ani shogres.
So bodhisattvas must maintain for the time being being at the solitude or the place where it is less distractions.
ane shenjin daro dang was ane be kadin lu lang de zero mai ba kadin de be shirin zo dang lu chen what the legit to na press
And which should not remain in a very somber demeanor.
tan de changju sa ba yi bi an ta ne changju sa bi jo ba ya ta ba ji wa de na na wo le sa wo de de yo de changju sa ba yi na ya lu lang ya yo re ja na changju sa ba yi na ya ane kar sa wo re 류기 제당 문제가 되어요. 마기 마주요. 가르쳐봐요. 지 뒤가 되어요. 뭐요? 자들이 이제 자주스 바이나야 또 소리야. 사사 제거래. 그래서 맞잖아. 쭉 가르나. 근데 바로 보게 세네야. 문제가 제거래. 쭉 다용을 쭉 도구나 바로 보내는 마사를 바로 보내는 마사나 바로 보다 마음을 중에 영어를 해서 나한테
So in the Bodhisattvas, it says the Bodhisattvas has the potential of getting angry, it says. The anger is generated by even Bodhisattvas. So therefore the text suggests that the Bodhisattvas must always be mindful of one's actions of the body, speech, particularly the mind. And when the Bodhisattva is speaking, making sure that the verbal expression doesn't become harsh to others.
저도 자주스마 이미자니 엔드도도 맞잖아. 근데 라니 때 자주스마 자데 바로 보게 데레 자주스마 데레야 컨트롤로 지사와는 안데 그게 소원나 이래. 근데 가봐 또 다서 배게서 컨트롤 끼지 지금 좀 그렇지스. 바로 보게 되는 좀 좋아다. 근데 대 좀만 떠는 맛에 근데 지도만 유랑 내면 싸워요. 근데 라니 자주스마 이미자니 시엘이야 상나다니 시엘에 배배 상나다니 라니기 아니 죄랑 배 가다서 제거를 했어야 돼.
So it is therefore, without knowing that Bodhisattva, is a Bodhisattva. If the Bodhisattva is then here, in other words, the Bodhisattva is not being careful with their actions of the body, speech, and mind. That offends other beings, then other beings become unhappy with their actions. In the worst case, they get angry, frustrated, and so on, which then makes other persons undergo great degeneration of their vows and commitments. And as we find in the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, where it says that as a movement of anger destroys the eons of thousands of eons of accumulation merits, which is actually referring to if one individual, the ordinary individual, gets angry towards the Bodhisattva, but not talking about you get angry towards anyone, but in this particular context of the Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, where it says your degenerates, your accumulation, 1,000 eons of accumulation of merits degenerates. If one, gets angry or generate anger or hatred towards Bodhisattva.
단데 이제 장주스 받고 있어. 다들 뭐 당하러 있네요. 저 당하러 돈 당하러 장주스 많이 나왔다. 당하다 가지고 거다 지고네요. 놀라 이제 산지 보고 싶어서 키링이 들어와서 놀라 비비 산지 거고 도와서 생기지 이미 차네. 장주스 미쳐발래 단데 일라 보고 있어. 장주스 미쳐발래 어디 되는 본소나 이게 소소 이네 단데 제 장주스 많이 봐이나요. 장주스 미쳐발래 어디로니 있나요? 아니 얘기 마테가 주인에 많이 봐지 저거 그래. 아다 라니 단에 저기서 미네이나 라니 문에 제 죄나다. 아다 사마 강사사지 셴그라니 얘도 못 통통이지. 저거 그래. 얘그라니 얘도 뭐 많이 봐지 저거 그래.
So now we as ordinary beings, be more careful In other words, extra careful of one's own actions of the body, speech, and mind. That doesn't become offensive to others. Uh, Particularly, that one should not engage in the actions of the body, speech, and mind deliberately to offend others. If we do so, then we are completely contradicting to the refuge formula that we always recite. I take refuge in charity also until I'm enlightened. By the practice of my part, giving and so forth, may I gain state of enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. That very verse that we are reciting has become mere words. So therefore, although that one is not bodhisattvas at this point, but we are aspiring to become a bodhisattva, and we have a genuine aspiration to achieve bodhicitta, to generate bodhicitta. So, on the one hand, we have a genuine aspiration to achieve bodhicitta or to generate bodhicitta. On the other hand, we are not refraining ourselves from engaging in the practice, engaging in the actions, negative actions of the body, speech, and mind. Then the words that we are reciting, or the verse that we are reciting, will become mere word.
kada paro pokorani che thondu kale joina yedo ma thondu gachi yapo thondu gachi ana paro chigirani thondu kale joina da tuja shiwe yoso be sianba madewa che de mai ba paro pokorani thondu kale joina de yapo yoso sianya che gazole de tende yo to ki soso ngani kujue tende ji so to che res.
So one should have a motivation always. I will do my best to not to offend other beings. May my actions of the body, speech, and mind do not become offensive to others. And I will not, let myself, powered by those actions derived from ignorance or negative thoughts. So we also, as followers of the Bodhisattva's practice, when one is speaking to others, you're speaking on the right time, or at least have some kind of understanding of others' disposition and inclinations. So based on their dispositions, when you speak to others, making sure that it doesn't become offensive to others. And even if you have to discuss something that someone has done wrong, and you have to address someone, we should do so with a very skillful means, not by not distracting others' mind. So if one is able to do this, follow this practice, and this will prevent us from accumulate negative karma. Not only prevents us from accumulating negative karma, but also be able to, prevent others accumulating negative karma. And then the, the benefit that we gain out of such practice is becoming persistent, becoming a condition for perfecting one's practice of patience or the tolerance.
안도나 가다 셴베와 소야게 안소소게 류마게 제가 만지가 다 탐제 가다 매봐서 그래 빵고래 데 소소가 나가지는 빵해서 대니 군조들이 아니 가다도
One should engage in the practice, that becomes a remedy for actions, negative actions of the body, speech, and mind, that the negative actions that becomes offensive to others.
가본 조절이가 본토해줘야 말돼 소속을 때 주제의 신이 근데 되다 넘버 본토 소속이 양양 공리 때는 간투 지도게 근데 저랑 문제 받아 봐야다 아니 저랑 상보서 소속에 지금 맞아봐 제발 지어보는 것도 필요 메시지를
Such practice will not be able to perfect it overnight. It requires a lot of contemplations, meditations, time and again, and which sustained practice and continuous practice will then be able to eradicate the motivations which creates a negative actions that becomes offensive to others.
딜레마 되니잖아 안 건데기 쓰게 가르쳐보나 로주나 연 편다 아마주나 연도가 맞지 사들에
So in brief, this particular verse, suggests or emphasizes us, if possible, one should always try to help others, benefit others. If that is not possible, one should refrain from harming others.
아무도 좋아했나
So we take your questions if you have any questions. Ken, you have a question? Mr. Anthony?
Yes, it's Warren. I always find that some of these teachings they're coming from the ordinary mind and also the Bodhisattva mind. And sometimes I feel that the ordinary mind, because it does not have the qualities of the Bodhisattva mind, it has its habits and other things. So I'm just wondering if you know that someone isn't a Bodhisattva, and you say that you can't know that, but if you see by their behavior and the way that they are, that they're obviously not a Bodhisattva. But yet they could be disguised, like you said, they take on different forms, different things. So really, to me, it's like a psychological way of dealing with your own inner enemies and your external enemies and your secret enemies, which are ignorance and the attachment and aversion to things. So that's my comment, anyway.
Okay. I'll explain it to you. It's not a question though, right? It's
more of a comment.
I'll explain it.
Yeah.
It mistake the Europe in the academy around and so it's going to some judge share it. The Messina, the is the some Nigeria and the Kursore, the cable number to get the cable number racing in the Mare and the Chicken Changes number Mare and the Soba Jet, the Kenny, Yomas Number was. 근데 잠정 때 수세 tuk수야고 때가 하루비 자왕년부 쉬우제딩이 지리야 그때 배린 전에서 메도 섬서를 처바 제도에 제용으로 왔어. 용으로 왔어. 근데 딱 간다 즉 파조기 즉 자왕년부터 간다 즉 자왕년부 즉 독서야를 이제 그 거의 자와될 때를 가면 딱 간다 즉 디멘도스다 그런다 즉 소소이큐리아 즉 유몽 콘로다 시다 즉 가서데 나게找到的 여러 봤어. 디 소소이에 원기다 소소이기 디 겐지는 소소이기 누가이 저한테 나지지 파조도 시원데 가는 파조의 디멘도 선선을 세면한테 코리움도 왔어. 이 용의 가면 이게 전체성 메모를 시작한다. 타지도 또고에 매다 관심돼 간다지 처바치야. 근데 용에서 이제 그 숨도 살았어. 그런 기타 좋은면서 그런 삼자를 해서
어제 우리 단지 주당 바로 보줄에 택치바지다 싫어 치바지 이것도 매게 모두 딱 타네 딱 그래서 주제권이 있다냐면은 주제권이 루야 나비셔나 이래라 대래 이래서 나도 딱 되네 또 돼야 되네 이래 이나야다 자주스마 이나 메시아네 바로 보겠지 그주 장바도네 또도 가만히 자주 쓰비고 아니 자보 안에들이 맞아야 되는데 제가 요구를 저번에 제가 자보 아니 맞아야 되는 제나고 자주스 같이 되는데 요 가시게 됐어요. 산로 코스를 봐. 근데 요구를 제가 근데 이제 뭐 제가 먼저 전화기 터니 전화 주고 시간대 요구는 자주스 같은 이제 가요 그래서 오늘 손으로 거를 대상이요. 다다 보도금도 제가 지전에 연구로서 만나지 소소 너무 와게 진짜네 통화나야 바로 그때 제가 그래 대학원에 기반을 지르면서 저기서 가와이에서 근데 요새 저래 대대자 소소하게 가서 그래 참아지러 와 아도 먼저 벽에 저기서 봐 이거 어떻게 가봐래
sometimes we find in the text where it says there's a way of ascertaining that other individual is not being bodhisattva based on reasoning. It's a certain syllogistic reasonings are there. But it's very difficult again here. Even you have a reasoning, but reasoning is very based on, for us as an ordinary individual, the reasoning is based on the other individual's behavior of the body and speech. We really do not know the relations. Because according to the teachings, and we also see in some sutras where it says, the Bodhisattva sometimes manifested as a king who is always in a battlefield. So it's someone who is equipped with all these weapons, armors, and being in the battlefield all the time. And who would think this individual is actually bodhisattvas? So it is really subtle, very, very subtle. Just by seeing that someone's, behaviors of the body or their expression, something that really finds harsh to us, and their body actions are something that is very harsh. And that this again would not really entails, the actual reality of that person. It will not actually let us understand the actual reality of that person. Although there are, as we mentioned earlier, there are some syllogistic reasonings of not being able to understand that individual is not a not a bodhisattva. But it's really, really difficult to say that individual is not a bodhisattva.
So I was wondering, I'm reading a book called Living is Dying. I can't remember the name. He's a Rinpoche in the Kagyu tradition, and he's part of the book. He explains about the bardo, and in the bardo, what kinds of things happen to people, and I'm recognizing how in life, how difficult it is when negative emotions like anger and so on arise to control them. Is it possible that a bardo being could be mindful enough to try to control those kinds of things, or are we pretty helpless once we die if those things arise?
그러나 이제 차비 세변 송도 이제 거기 남식 자좀 남에 차비 스페셜 living in dance is the catchy 개워다 이제 간다 들으셔다 개워다 치위 남자 생긴 없이 근데 그래서 나야 바로 관계는 뭐 무슨 소리였어 그게 관계다 그 저어도 되셔 다라니 세딘 가서 다디니 펴다가 바로 이렇게 보러 가지 바로 이렇게 깨차비 휴고리아 수수랑이 그냥 바로 있네 하고야 즉 미개위 자와다 즉 군웅년부터 그게 수술 단지 제도로 연구를 해서 야면은 바로 조차비 휴고다 즉 땡기면부터 시작해 거지 그게 가서 즉 수술 대신 대야로부터 견이 매없이 그게 다 곧 때문에 개별소를 또 스테이워로 가내놨어 어디 컨디션이죠.
다 아무데시나 어근데 치마타야 바돌 루기지나 바돌 루기니 요라지니레 나중에 소멸지나 바투주미로 먹어서라 자상 루알 조사가다 간다 대체지나 근데 체비마타도 바돌 징이 지다 바돌 징으로 는 소멸지야 니요레스가
So when we as soon as we die, in other words, there's two kinds. The one individual who take rebirth in Bardo, who will be in the Bardo state, or the intermediate state. There's other individual who doesn't need to go to Bardo without going, without entering into Bardo state. They will take a rebirth wherever their karma or the delusion actually, push them.
다 바도 예비하는 지와나 바도가 되지다네 류청월에 일루지래 예를 문화를 나기지래 코로나 제주도에서 시작을 근데 아무 것도 통해 주었으라고 그래 이내야다 바도데 뭐바 소설하니 가와지에는 대 전에다 두마지니 바도도 내려주어서 그래 다 뭐바 메이지와내기지나 아니 바도 때는 미나마로 주려서 그래 근데 나 얘기 지금 들어오게 쳐다시면 지원행이나 바도게 수기 이렇게 쳐다시면 나오는 거지 용을 해서 그래 어떤 제다 땡전되는 제 단디 바도 때문에 소소지 개와주야나 마케 주야데 소소를 아닌데 로마용으로 주야는 그나 말에 얘네 바도 때문에 개와주야 요거 마게 레사 요거 다 저도 배제 단단 말씀 나기 소설 아니래 가능성 그래 단지 제하고 어떻게 하다 이거 선에도 떠나기 위해서 말이네.
So the Bardo body is not the gross body, the body that can be touched and so on, but rather it is called the mental body. It's like the body is a dreamlike body, in other words, it says. And it possesses all those faculties, but no obstruction to it. And then it says, what kind of rebirth that one may take in the future, the designated rebirth. And the Bardo, although it's not something that form that can be seen or that can be touched, but there's some kind of energy form, which is similar to what kind of rebirth that one may take in the future. If one is, let's say, if one takes rebirth in a human beings, the energy form will be like a human being, or taking rebirth in animal realms, or such as dog, cat, and so forth. And once that the forming of that the energy is similar to the cat and the dog. But there is a possibility that some Bardo beings may be able to accumulate some kind of merits and do something good during the Bardo. But it will not have liberty as we have as an actual being. The Bardo being will not have this choice. And then also the Bardo being who is actually being able to accumulate merits and virtue in the state of Bardo, if they are very mindful of quite a advanced practitioner at the time when they're alive as a human being, then there's a possibility that individuals, the Bardo beings, that the individual enter into the state of Bardo state, may have sudden mindfulness of engaging in actions that are, virtuous.
바도 때에 대화 요원으로 동행 요원 바도 때에 레네바를 레상보로 요레스.
So Bardo beings will undergo suffering, as well as they also a certain period of having some happiness. They experience both suffering and happiness. Again, in other words, Bardo beings. And similarly, Bardo beings can also accumulate negative karma or positive karma, both.
Then 바도 그때 가져야 요레스. 너무 집에 내서 드들 지야 바도를 주의하이나 엔데리아 집에 지야 바도 때야 가져야 되는 요레스.
So, even though some individual who has taken a rebirth, someone's entered into the Bardo beings, but that Bardo being is, about to take a rebirth in the lower realms. Yet at the same time, there's also a possibility that the direction can be changed. The Bardo beings, who is, in other words, who is actually taking a rebirth in the lower realms. So that is the direction that Bardo being is actually directed towards. Yet at the same time, there's also a possibility that such direction can be changed. Instead of taking rebirth in the lower realms, the Bardo being can take a rebirth in human beings as well.
So much less than you want to. Kagir Bado Nekare, not rather no shivay. Kagir much less than you Bado Nekaya, Jen Denyam Tene, Tayo, Jen Nezambul letting us on the Dagayan, so 가지로 받는 용어스.
So based on one's own karma, some other beings will have, happiness and happiness and peace, and some other beings will experience unhappiness and sufferings.
근지에 배제는 가능한 것이.
Now,
그러면 이제 배제는 가능한 것이.
is there any explanation to the explanation in that the life, living and dying books that you're reading about?
Yeah, there's some explanation. He goes through his own interpretation of Bardo Todon.
Tongzhou?
Bardo Todon.
Oh, Tongzhou.
And so there's a lot of explanation of, or a lot of discussion of all sorts of terrors and difficult circumstances and being frightened and all sorts of things like that. And not a lot of description of happiness or peacefulness.
Okay.
So that's what made me wonder,
Yeah,
about this.
absolutely, yeah. And the Dev in the Quran, the Chalona be Dev Shorava. Dev and the Lung dances Lung Shore, the Dev in the Lung dance have a Lung to get it to turn on the Rashi stretches. Then I get the Maja Pado Digalia, Kani Shivia de Shanada, Gina, Shivia de Skanka de Shasu.
제 봐도 그래 때랭이 배운 게 지나 요걸 대해다 봐도 들어다 봐도 못 해서는 나요 그랬잖아. 저는 지나는 제가 지나 지나는 랭이 배운 천하리스. 안도서 저도 답한테 막 해요 말했어. 그냥 못 해지야. 근데 좋아요.
So it is true there are, in the Bardo state, it and again, it entirely depends on one's own karma. That due to one's intense negative karma, when one enters into the Bardo state, then one will undergo tremendous number of suffering, fear, anxiety, and all kinds of stuff. But then we have a certain ritual performance for that individual, the Bardo beings, by identifying that individual. It depends on the ritual performers, the realization of the person actually performing the rituals. And if it's really qualified, good ritual performers, if we can find, then such individual can actually, give some kind of direction to that the being who is in the Bardo state, so that the Bardo being can actually, be able to understand whatever he or she is experiencing is not a real.
그래서 저들이야 상보야 왜 제게나 저 지마리야 소소 다시 주주 참여 대 상보지 제도가 이바다나 데니 체베니 바돌르베 가리나 가이토 인도 로야지 용어.
For instance, if one engages in positive deeds by, in other words, by, practicing and so on, this will become a cause for a positive rebirth in one's future life. And such individual who actually have have such a cause of taking a positive rebirth in one's future life, then most probably this individual will also have a better Bardo when the Bardo and the individual actually enter into the state of Bardo, will have a better experience rather than going through all kinds of terrors and anxiety and sorrows and so forth.
Can I ask one other question?
Absolutely.
To rephrase the motivation of the Buddhist Sattva, maintaining a conscientiousness about not knowing, people are bodhisattvas or not. Um, I sort of would rephrase it in a way that if all sentient beings, in the Anattatara Yoga, it said that all beings have the potential to become enlightened. And so on that basis, then I can understand that concept, the Bodhisattva concept. But then there's someone threw in that, one school threw in that thought that there are certain beings that could never become enlightened.
Yeah,
And
yes, sir.
when I asked Rinpoche about that, he said that that's just the incorrect view.
Yeah. 지난 건저 남게 그 진리 제베나 그 믹스에 코런데 마 라메 제베나 생제 제게 말려 사이제 간다 사이제 세브치레시제 그 사이 기내레 세르시 인데시 원어스 인데스 원어스 이네 대체베나 될 때네야 즉 생제 대장 전주선부 말에서 나타나야 대장 전주선부 말에서 대장 전주선부를 라야 있다면도 저발제도 가고 제사 왔어. 그래서 생제 강글로 사이제 니버여들이 이제 차대 먹어봤어. 성로 사이제야 있다. 반다지 사변을 무슨 수술 길이요 괜히 참 먹어봤어. 근데 아직 좀现在现在那里啊 身边刚个上一届也会有嘛的事，身边日记，但是这真的是国际同盟了，真的是上一届他的上一届没事真的有的是身边，真的是同盟，真的过去的同不到啊你什么这里跟着学的是的，这些对哪我们或者这里跟着学的什么这些，这样嘛的是弄着的什么都是。身边上一届没事真的有嘛的什么都是。
是，但那就上做这个那是那过来，现在上几年也没强嘛给上来，上几年把这上过来的上几个这个他说的是吧？这个世界呢上几路也没强，这个上几年把它上几路嘛，上几路嘛，到上几400岁基本上就过来，在这个，在那样，这个。世界呢，上几么是把你买了的，在那个那个跟着学的那出在那边的，世界呢上几容易被掐死我了，这个上几容易被掐死的什么上几是被掐死我了，加上上几么是被世界就要嘛的，因为呢，世界呢上几容易被就是的今年长久什么一当面包在等留下那个嘛的，是吧？世界呢上几容易被掐的，世界的长久什么也没掐没啊，是吧？世界呢上几容易被掐的。世界上讲的是没一笔吃不了嘛，等于可能拿过来的。实际上就上几路一笔吃不的，上了干了当过呢，早上他那可能生节的月亮，上节的啥的，不同样的，那看的心里不怎么就要吧。马当就老个玩意吧，然后一个这边马给吧，就在这点呢，那实际上上几路一笔吃，就在这里的早上嘛的。
So it's true because there's no such sentient beings who's not possible to gain state of enlightenment. Every sentient being, there's a possibility of gaining state of enlightenment, attain enlightenment. But that doesn't really make that all sentient beings are the bodhisattvas. They do have a potential of getting, attaining complete enlightenment. It is because all the sentient beings possess this, naturally abiding nirvana within themselves, and they're at all those negative thoughts and emotions, defilements, and so on. How subtle they may be, they are all advantageous. It is not their nature of mind of sentient beings, regardless of who they are, what kind of beings, the realms that they may have taken rebirth, what kind of realms that sentient beings that we're speaking about. But so long as their nature of mind is concerned, it is untainted by the defilements.
제가 말한서 가디는 산지로 비차를 거제니 맞아 장교스만 비차고 간다 장교스만 얘기하는 장교 장교스 진 제가 제가 먼저 가디는 제진 장교스만 장교스 줄 제빙이 받는다 와 제가 이나 말도 제도는 가디는 산지로 비차래 그러나 말도 주고 주마서 물고 이 비차로 와 어떻게
So we all know that there's a possibility that we can gain state of enlightenment. We can become enlightened. We all know that there's a possibility of it. Yet at the same time, we know that we should know, we will know that whether we are bodhisattvas or not. We will know that whether we have generated bodhicitta or not. Whether one becomes a bodhisattva or not is dependent upon whether one is generated this body mind or the mind of enlightenment. So, because we all have this, in other words, the nature of mind of all of us is untainted by those negative thoughts and emotions or the defilements. So all those negative thoughts and emotions that we have can be removed. So therefore, there's a possibility of all of us to gain state of enlightenment.
그래서 산지 메시지 주 여배우는 나와있네 이나 대주래야 이 돈도 비시라도 자주 센주는 제주명에 대주 여배 녀비도 이제도 추리 파이명에 주 세죠 대 나비션 저희는 들지 메시지
So there's no such beings who is not possible to gain state of enlightenment. There's no such beings. Because there's no such beings whose negative thoughts and emotions are advantageous. Regardless of who they are, as we spoke earlier, regardless of who they are, their nature of mind is untainted by the defilements.
And whether it takes eons or one lifetime, it really shouldn't matter because time is irrelevant. As Dorje Rinpoche said a long time ago when I first took his class, he was asking the questions of time, how the differentiations of different amounts of time, and in the end he concluded that it all happens at the same time. So there's really no, your mind can mentally construct moments, long and short moments of time, but really, so that was relieving. It was liberation from its timelessness, like in Dzogchen, the concept of timelessness.
I don't agree. Because if you have timelessness, you will also have spacelessness. And therefore, the concept is meaningless. Because it's not, time can't exist without space, so you would have spacelessness and timelessness. And I don't think you would have spacelessness.
That the permanence of space, there's the permanent and the cessation of analytic and non-analytic permanences, and then the rest of it is all impermanent. So I don't know. Timelessness it's a very interesting concept because it's a concept that is that it allows you to have a fourth time, basically, which is a non-time, because it's a concept, it's a mental construct. So when you deconstruct it, either through affirming negation or non-affirming negation, you are left with, you're left with it. So.
I think you're overthinking it. You're
Over, under,
more to it than
free from both.
But Nima, what's the best antidote for anger? What's the best antidote against anger?
Best antidote for
anger.
anger? best antidote for anger.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the counter the nimbu yakshyo shikaresu. Oh, the division.
그런 이거야. 그런 이거도 또 쓰고 만들어.
Patience. Patience is the most effective antidote to anger.
이는 다 대저용 공부여로. 이는 최소소 걸어 맞은 거는 예매가 세주는 걸 동문에 세네 나도도를 코코로 대가 가족이 제일 나오는데 당고서 세는 나도도 주는 거래. 되니 대 건로대 안 돼요 그러와. 자 대용이야. 다 되니 저거 그 준세이 돈이 저거 거와. 그래도 어다 건로 제사래. 건로대 야고매 계산 준 거예요. 라인이가 보는 자고요. 근데 바로 보고 라인이 진 가르쳐서 하고 건로랑 제가 라인을 영화에서 내가 했다면 소소가 통하지 제발해서 양초진이 바로 보게 라인을 지내가 줘야 돼. 라인을 또 네가 이어서 내가 주된 돈이 건로대 야라만 좀 망고는 왜
So patience, we're speaking about patience. Patience must be based on reasonings. Just being patient is not, again, very effective, but patience must have a reason. So the reasoning is that, in brief, of course, there are a lot of explanation to it, but in brief, it says, first of all, we should know that what kind of benefit that we're actually receiving by anger, by generating anger. Are we, by generating anger, are we really, receiving a negative feelings or the positive feeling? That we have to think about that. And then as soon as the anger arises in one's mind, one become unhappy. Nobody will say that person is very angry but happy at the same time. Nobody will accept that. It is a contradictory. And happiness is the one that we always seek to achieve. And that is one that actually destroys our happiness. And why don't we try to look at that anger as our inner enemy? And always look at this inner enemy and treat this anger as a deceptive, who actually deceives us, and we have been deceived by this for last eons and eons, and we have been followed and be very, obedient to that anger, and we listen to that, and then not only that we followed, but we embrace that. And sometimes we think that anger gives us some kind of power. And then we are, instead of looking at finding a fault in anger, but we embrace it. That is the problem that we have. But if we look at this and know how anger destroys our happiness and our peace of mind, then we will look at that as something that we don't want. I will not listen to you from now on. I know who you are. You have been deceiving me for a long time, and I'm not going to let you deceive. I will not become your slavery. So this will then, see that there's a value and then in practicing our patience.
So we should say the dedication prayers on page 23 and 24, and then continue with auspicious wishes on page 28. Andagi jine sate
Yawande Netandawa Amen. Chebra Jesu Nusantava Tibe Niborin Saji Sho
Saji
Kaji Bedora Dera Nayi Nile Gevade Aji Hindu Bide Kovani Logu Nanda Yena Jebara Sho
Ema Kundu
Yana Lana Dame Jiji Pela Juji 사당은 지유대라서 도제 참기고파도쇼 에나마다바간데야타야메
제출라메
고세로 된지 나가드네 조주디와가 로산데베 루메사소지 로에메세다도 네주로지 고에시마수 에나데와 마누주에네 제레세와 인데자소이 샤베세데바도 네주로지 제다지바나 고도스보데야네지네 대다군지지도 나로지 개와테나 탐지로도모 드수시베가와 탐지기 노아카나 조도마바베 다기기베사와베구 나고주제로도모와기
Thank you.